What's up, HyperFast Nation? On this episode of the show, I'm going to talk about the differences between revenue share and rental income. You don't want to miss this episode. Stand by. All right, welcome back to the show. Today, I'm talking about rental income versus revenue share. So, a lot of people are familiar with rental income from real estate. Not as many people with revenue share. We'll talk about both. I've been doing both, by the way. I got my first rental income producing property in 2005 and that was in Jacksonville, Florida, single family home. Then I've done this in multiple markets in Virginia, DC, and Florida. And I've invested in other funds that are in, rental properties in other states. So I've got some familiarity with it. Also have interviewed tons of people on the HyperFast show that have done this in multiple different forms, ranging from single family homes to multifamily syndicators to people that do it with creative financing. All right. So when it comes to rental income, we'll start with rental income. You've got a couple different ways that you can get in. Usually it's going to either involve money or time, right? You can put up money, down payment, 20, 25% plus closing costs, plus some reserves to get into the deals, or you can, do what I call use time and find creative ways to get in, whether it's seller financing or subject to deals, right? There's all sorts of creative ways to do that. And the people that get good at that, by the way, can create a lot of built-in instant equity. All right. When it comes to rental income, all right, a couple things are true. Number one, you pretty much always have monthly expenses. So even if you pay the property off or never get a mortgage or own it 100%, buy it with cash, whatever, you still have utilities, potentially insurance, property taxes, right? So you have expenses with it. You have liability as well. Now, I know you can get LLCs and come up with asset protection plans, but if a tenant gets hurt, does something crazy, whatever, right? Some of that liability potentially can come back onto you. There's obviously ways to mitigate that. But I think one, those statements are true. There's always expenses. There's always some shape or form of liability. So how much can you make with rental income? Again, depends. Did you get in with creative financing? Did you put in, small down payment, big down payment, all in cash, right? So, the rule of thumb typically is $100 a door for single families, $200 a door for condos or multifamily, I should say. Now, if you are, good at finding creative ways to get into deals or kind of create instant equity, those numbers can go up, I think, to $500-600 a door. And that's, the people I've had on the podcast who are best at class at this. I see them in the 5-6, maybe one of them is in the $700 per door average. All right. So, if you own 100 doors, maybe you'll make 30, 40, 50 grand a month. That's really best case scenario though. So there's potential there if you are able to scale it. Now, scaling it is going to take more time and usually in most cases a lot more capital. But there, plenty of people that have done this, scaled it, and get up to six figures a month, right? Let's take a look at revenue share on the other hand. Revenue share is what I get at eXp Realty. I've been doing it for almost a year now, and it's a significant part of our overall business and cash flow now, right? And basically, when a real estate agent joins eXp, and they name you as a sponsor, or they say you were the number one reason that person that influenced them to join, right? You're now their sponsor. You get part of the company dollar. So the agents at eXp Realty have a $16,000 cap. Approximately half of that goes back to feed the revenue share pool. And it goes down to multiple levels. So if you sponsor an agent and they sponsor an agent, and so on and so forth, you can get paid on as many as 7 levels. The most generous revenue share plan out there in all of real estate. All right. some things about revenue share that I think are, really great when you look at rental income, right? Number one, no expenses, right? Other than the $85 you have to pay per month, to be at EXP Realty, right? So virtually no expenses, no liability, right? You can sponsor agents in 50 different states, 24 different countries, and that number is growing. They're expanding into more countries. But EXP is the broker, right? So in other words, they are joining EXP. They're hanging their license with EXP. EXP is the broker, and you're just the sponsor, right? You do not have a liability the same way you would do if you owned a rental property, right? So no expenses. So if your revenue share for some reason, like if all the agents in your group didn't do a deal 1 month, which probably would never happen, but if that were the case, you're not going to go negative, right? Because there's no expenses, no liability, and no upfront capital other than the $145 it costs to join EXP Realty. It can grow quite substantially beyond your own efforts, right? There's been plenty of examples where people sponsor 10, 20, 30 agents, over 3, 4, 5 years. So not a lot, or like an agent every month or 2 or 3. And then it grows to several hundred, even several thousands of agents over time. That can produce very significant income. There's dozens of people at EXP Realty that are making over 6 figures per month, and then several hundred that are at levels not as high as that, but still very, very significant, like enough to replace their sales income as real estate agents, or enough to have a bona fide retirement plan or an exit strategy. So while I think you should do both, right? I'm a big believer in both. I think revenue share is the better deal. Like if I had to pick one, if someone put a gun to my head and said you got to pick one, either revenue share or rental income, hands down it would go to revenue share. Right now, you obviously have to put work into this. Like you have to, I think, to be significant, you need to think of how can I sponsor 5 agents or more per year. That's not a lot though, right? And I can guarantee you this: sponsoring an agent, finding an agent that wants to join EXP, in my book, in my mind, is a lot easier than finding a great rental property deal. Like rental, like there's 1.5, 1.6 million real estate agents in the United States, more when you go to other countries. So definitely, lots of like great real estate agents out there. You kind of know who they are. And obviously there's lots of homes in the U.S., right? We have 4 to 5 million, selling in like typical years, 6 million in banner years. So, but finding like a really great deal of those 4 to 5 million is, that's a smaller pool, right? So, just like you have to put time into finding a good rental property or good rental property operator, you do have to put time into finding agents to sponsor. But, sponsoring 5 or 6, quality real estate agents a year in a 5-year period, I think has a much bigger chance of, building you wealth and ongoing cash flow than if you were able to go out and, find 5 or 6 good real estate deals per year. So I think there's just much more upside when it comes to revenue share. There's the ability to really change your life, the ability to, which rental income can do, by the way, too. But, the ability for it to grow exponentially far beyond, what you could do on your own efforts. And you get all of this with like almost no startup costs, no ongoing expenses, and no liability. So revenue share, I think, is the best business opportunity that I've seen in my lifetime. I'm sure that doesn't mean I should pass on other good opportunities, right? But it's by far the best business opportunity I've seen, and especially business opportunity associated with real estate. So if you're a real estate agent out there, either new, thinking about getting your license, or experienced, and want to know more about how revenue share can change your life, about how keeping more of your commission can change your life, how getting stock awards in the company can change your life, I would love to chat with you. And I'd be honored to have that conversation and run the numbers for you and show you the potential. All you need to do is pick up your cell phone and send me a text message at 703-638-4393. Again, that's 703-638-4393. I would be honored to have that discussion with you. Thank you again for tuning in to this episode of the HyperFast Show. I will see you next time.